topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi. Hello, I'm Shelby Wagner, and I'm host of Learning to Dance in the Rain. Welcome to my show. Thank you for coming today. We're going to have fun, I think, talking about love with my pastor, Carl. But first, I want to mention that the objective of my show, Learning to Dance in the Rain, is not necessarily just to learn dance physically, but to learn how to be resilient, learn how to do a lot of different activities that you would enjoy. And in this case, we're talking with guests about how they have coped with difficult situations. And we just finished a series with Karina, who was dealing with the after effects of being scammed, and we'll have some more victims in the future. But today we're talking about love. And my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, is an award winner, and we are talking about the subjects that I talk about in the book. And then my second book, Scams, is details 150 different tricks that scammers use to try to get your money, and your identity is at risk. So you need to check out those two books, and be sure that the Learning to Dance in the Rain is the third edition and not the others. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce again my pastor, Carl Litchfield, who is pastor of two churches, the Burr Oak Methodist and the Minden Methodist, and has been 41 years. I can't believe
41 years. 41 years.
So welcome.
Yeah, still at it.
How are you today?
I tried to retire and God wouldn't let me, so I'm back in the saddle.
I guess I could say the same, because when I moved to Tennessee in 2000, retiring from public school teaching, I retired from playing the organ and music. I was down there about 6 months when I started playing the organ in a Methodist church there. Yeah. And then I switched to a Lutheran church and was there 10 years. Came back to Michigan and got drafted into playing at the Bronson United Methodist Church, where my daughter belongs. Wow. And then I retired for sure. For 2 years, I was retired, and I got back to Burr Oak. I don't know.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm very happy to meet Carl.
Thank you. It's good to be together.
Yeah. Want to just recap a little bit about love, and we're going to be talking about the list that we showed before. If you want to put that up there, Rebel, the Navigating the Maze of True Love, and I think this is part 3 episode. But if we move down a little bit to the list of how do I know that I am in love? We want true love, right? And how many times have we loved someone we thought and it didn't work out? So here we are.
There's that list. Yep.
Okay. Last week we talked about that first one. Wasn't it the first one? You are addicted to that person and want to be with them all the time.
Yeah. I was reacting to the word addicted, which I always find to be a negative. It speaks about a weakness, or it speaks about a unhealthy kind of attraction that is kind of a dependency. And some of that is true, I think, of having a loving relationship. There is a dependency involved. But I would say, instead of using the word addicted, I was looking at the person who wrote this is Dr. Teresa D. Donato. I would say to Dr. DiDonato that the one word I would choose to use, you are attracted to that person. And I, I think that's a positive. I think that's a positive kind of way of describing it. And we can say, though, that the attraction can be very strong, similar to an addiction. But I think that that speaks a little bit more positively about the potential of this relationship proving to be good for both the one that you're attracted to as well as yourself. So that I just wanted to speak to that word addicted, and I think that attracted is a bit more positive and a bit better kind of description.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do want to be with that person, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in these first, when love is new and the relationship is new, we find that attraction so strong that it's very difficult for us to be apart from one another.
Mhm.
I'll confess, when I was much younger and in high school and when I was dating, when I was first in the Air Force and like that, I had a problem with understanding when it was time to say I love you. And I said I love you too quickly. And I was saying I love you to people that I actually eventually learned that I really didn't love them. It was more of a physical attraction than emotional love. And so I decided that I really should not say I love you to someone in those first stages of and I had to be absolutely sure. So that was my decision before I met Jerry. And as we were dating and that sort of thing, Jerry came to the conclusion that she loved me, and she was willing to express that to me. And there's just so many ways you can respond to, gee, gosh, thanks, And the problem was earlier I was, I've seen plenty of movies, and when somebody says I love you, say, oh, I love you back, and that sort of thing. And I was trying to be more careful. And we went for several months like this. And finally, Jerry said, I have been in a relationship with other men who did not love me. And I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who cannot say that or cannot express it or does not feel that. And so she broke it off. And we went a weekend. Terrible, long, horrible weekend. And finally, I called her up, and she confessed that she was just as miserable as I, because we hadn't seen each other for 3 days, and we began to start to be together again and that sort of thing. But eventually, and it wasn't too much longer after that, I began to realize that can I use I don't want to say the word addicted, but obsession. My obsession. I was thinking about her all the time. And couldn't concentrate. I just started in college, trying to study, and I couldn't really do any reading or anything like that. And I finally realized that this preoccupation I had with her was really probably an indication that I really did love her. And so, for the first time ever, I says, I think I love you. So we started that way. But we wanted to be together. Even those 3 days that we were apart, we realized how strong the attraction was mutually. And that was really probably what opened the door for me to realize that this thing was real for me, as well as for Jerry.
Okay.
We want to be with each other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Someone said to me, well, you need to be happy. Being with them makes you happy.
I would say so. Mm-hmm.
My husband, somehow we came up with the thing that we needed. We were better people when we were together.
Oh, isn't that nice?
When we were not together.
Isn't that nice? Now, after the point that's below this, you celebrate the person's triumphs. I think a couple points down after that, let's see.
The third one, yeah. You celebrate this person's triumphs. It was right there, even when you yourself fail.
Right. And then after that is you definitely like this person. And
Uh-huh.
I think absolutely yes, absolutely yes. I think that's the beginning point of that attraction. You really enjoy being with them. You like them, and you miss the person when you're apart. We were just talking about that.
Mhm.
But the point after that, your sense of self has grown through knowing this person. And Shelby, what you just said about you and your husband having expressed it this way, that because you're together, you have made one another better people. You're better people because you are together.
Mhm.
And I really think that touches on this. Your sense of self has grown through knowing this person. And
Mhm.
I think perhaps it might mean my own self-awareness. I grew in my own self-awareness. I learned about what love was all about, or what the definition of love is, or I learned that I could say I love you.
Mhm.
So I learned something about myself in that way. But
Mhm.
also I had terrible problems with self-esteem when I was younger. And I thought, really, I was the youngest in the family, and my older brothers loved to put me down and that sort of thing. It was terrible competition in the family and a
Mhm.
lot of negativity. So I really had this very poor self-image. And finding someone who truly loved me really helped me to begin to come out of that poor self-image and to come to see myself as somebody who was worthy to be loved. So that was a healing thing. But the love that Jerry was giving to me was healing for myself, where I had been wounded when I was younger. So my sense of self did grow because of the way that Jerry cared for me. Yeah.
There's a question hanging just out of reach almost, but
Please
has
go
to
ahead.
do with what about yeah, I guess it's gone.
Oh, I hope we find it again.
Let me think
those,
again.
those are always the
Oh
most
boy,
promising
one of
questions.
those
Yeah.
senior moments, but
Yeah, that's
there
all
was
right.
something that you said there that sparked a little bit, but
Yeah. Sense of
um,
self has grown. Hmm.
right, right. Oh,
Hmm.
in the dating apps and so on, I read that there are certain people, men
All
and
right.
probably women too, that are really, they don't have enough self love or self esteem to really love someone else.
There's someone else. You're going right to the heart of what Jesus teaches about love. Love one another. Love your neighbor as yourself. In other words, that to be able to love that other person who is in our life means that we have to have, before we can love them, we have to have a healthy sense of love for ourselves.
Mhm.
If I really don't love myself, if I have a real crappy attitude about who I am and my worth and that sort of thing, I don't think that I can love someone else better than that. My estimation of love is really rather poor, because my estimation of myself and my love for myself is rather poor. So
Mhm.
if I don't know how to love myself, first of all, it's quite difficult for me to be able to love someone else genuinely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. That sparked a cute little story.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah,
I'd like to hear it.
really, yeah, I hope I got time to tell it, but I have
Yeah.
a beautiful grand niece. My niece's daughter,
All
and
right.
she was just as cute as a button, And she
Yeah.
always posed for her pictures, and then they took a lot of pictures because she was the first grandchild of my
Oh, yeah.
sister.
Yeah.
Okay, so. But one time when she was 3 or 4, she did not want her picture taken that
Oh,
day,
my.
and she pitched fit.
Oh, no.
And I didn't know about this until later, but I was visiting my sister, and my niece was there, and she said, "Aunt Shelby," she says, "see my picture over there?" And she pointed at the piano. There was her picture. I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, I see that picture. What happened anyway? That's not your usual picture." She says, "I was real naughty that day, and I will never do that again." She said, "I
Oh,
don't like that picture at all." So she learned a lesson
no.
very young.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. if you have an attitude when the camera comes out, the camera's going to reveal that.
Right.
Or before, it was kind of funny. Before, sounds like she always loved to have her picture taken,
She
but
did, and I
that
don't know what
particular day, not so
that
much.
particular day, but it was funny that she pointed it out to me. She
Yeah.
wanted me to know that she knew she had been naughty that day.
Oh, no. Well. A little life lesson for your grandniece.
Yeah. Well, she's a beautiful young woman now, but
Oh, well.
she's working on a doctor. She wants to, I think, what is it, draw blood? What's that called? The one that give you. Well, no, I think it's an anesthesiologist. That's
Anesthesiologist,
give you
okay.
the medicine to put you to sleep, so
Right,
you don't
right.
have any
Yeah.
pain. But
Wow.
yeah.
That's
But
quite an
anyway,
accomplishment.
it's funny that I remember that story when you said something. So
Yep.
that next one, I don't like. It says jealous.
Oh, right. That, yeah,
You
that
get
was, we
jealous,
spoke about that just a little bit before the program
but
began.
you are not suspicious.
Yeah, I hope that was the kind of quality of jealousy that I experienced when Jerry and I were first getting quite serious with one another.
Mhm.
Of course, now I'd be the first to admit that Jerry needs her friendships, especially I think women need friendships with other women. I
Mhm.
believe that men also need friendships with other men. And it's very fulfilling to be with the one you love, and to have that loving relationship all the time, but or much of the time. But there comes a time when we want to take a little break. We want to have an afternoon away with our friends. We want to go back to old activities and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And Jerry had said she wanted to spend some time with her cousin, and a mutual friend. In fact, it was her cousin really that introduced us. It was a long time before this. And would I mind babysitting with our daughter Leslie? And I said, sure, it'd be okay. But she was gone, I thought, quite a long time, maybe only an hour, maybe only an hour and a half. And her cousin's house was only about a block or two away from the place where we were staying. So I took Leslie by the hand, our daughter by the hand, and we walked down there, and I was saying, how much longer are you going to be? And Jerry did not appreciate that. I couldn't quite imagine. So there was a bit of jealousy there. And I think what triggered that was, I really wanted her to be my primary relationship. I wanted, perhaps what I really was saying, that I want you only, and I want you only to want only me. That's a really rather immature thing. And it's something that I had to get beyond. Now, jealous, in this statement here, you get jealous, but you are not suspicious. I didn't think that Jerry was cheating on me. I didn't think that she had said she's going to go see her cousin and went off to see another guy. That was not the thing. It was just that it was hard for me at that time to let her go and be away, enjoy herself with someone else. That it was hard for me to not be so possessive of her.
Right.
So that was my struggle at that point. I was not afraid that she was stepping out on me. It's just that I just at that point I was so completely let's use the word infatuated, that I was only happy if we were together, and I was unhappy if we were apart.
Once I retired and he retired, and we were together all the time. And we moved to Tennessee. We built a house. We got that done. And I just met some women from the church there, and I was out with them one day. And I just said, well, I said, I'm with Bob all the time. I don't know. I think it's too much. And my friend Pat, she says, Shelby, sometimes you need to take a break from each other.
I think it's true. Your friend is right.
Right. Yep. You need to be out with us. You need to, and he does too.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So there's that angle too, where you love each other, but you do need some space and some time.
Yeah.
I have a question though about this.
All right.
Because I spend a lot of time at the computer writing and
Okay. All right.
marketing my book, and I get lots of emails. Okay, so
Okay.
my partner, I mean, yes, okay, so I had a relationship with a man called Bill, and
All right.
it got to a point where he was jealous of my job. I mean, my
All
writing,
right.
because I spent more time there than with other
Well,
with him, I guess.
not
I tried
surprising. Not surprising. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But and now I'm seeing that a little bit in my present relationship. It just so happens that he's very busy remodeling his house,
Right.
so I have my time to do that. But still, the other day he was saying, well, it's time for you to retire, and, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, I'll retire when you do. But how do you balance your time? Like, if you're pastor of two churches, you're married, you're a father, how do you um
Well,
balance?
a lot of it has to do with kind of a personal sense of equilibrium. I feel like I am in balance if I know that I'm living my life in harmony with God's direction for me or God's desires for me. I find myself deeply at peace. Um, when I tried to retire back in 2017, it wasn't long for me to realize that I couldn't just sit at home in a rocking chair. Of course, we had moved and everything. There were so many things that we had to do to get settled and get things unpacked and the house ready and that sort of thing. We were busy in that regard. But as far as being a Christian and going to church and worshiping and that sort of thing, there was a sense that by the time I retired in July of 2017. By the time I got to January of 2018, I sensed a restlessness in myself, and I felt like maybe I'd retired too early, and I really wanted to be a part of leading worship again.
Mhm.
And really, I think my brother David had retired. He's 12 years older than I. He'd retired maybe about 15 years before I retired. Now, when I talked to him, eventually soon I'm going to be retiring. What he said to me makes sense now. He said, you really are called by God to preach, and you will never, ever really be able to retire because
Mhm.
God's calling stays on you. So I'm glad that I'm back in the preaching. And I'm glad that I have reasons to get up and get going, to spend time away from the house and spend time in public ministry and that sort of thing, and then come back and be refreshed. I have to, for my balance, I have to make sure that I protect my days off. So because I'm an introvert, I have to get home and kind of be with family, kind of be by myself, and that's how I recharge. And so it's kind of a balance of how much am I out in the world and how much am I at home and caring for myself and for my relationship with Jerry. And
Mhm.
because she is definitely housebound and oftentimes having to spend quite a bit of time in bed, when I am home, there are a lot of things that I am wanting to do and able to do, and Jerry needs me to do for helping in the house and helping her in certain activities and that
Mhm.
sort of thing. So I'm glad that I'm able to be home. If it ever got to the point where she's 100% bedbound, then I probably have to let go of my ministry and stay home to care for her, because it's just she's my wife, and if she needs me that much, then I'm going to do that to care for her. So right now, though, I feel like ministry, home, uh, my caring for myself as an introvert, caring for my wife, and being active with my family. I think now things are in balance. I feel satisfied. I feel like I have that equilibrium. I have peace over this. Um, but there's certain times when a week that gets extra full, perhaps someone's died and there's a funeral at the end of the week and I've got to write an extra service. And of course, when Lent and Holy Week coming up, there's extra things to do. Sometimes these things kind of stack up on me and I lose that sense of peace. I know I've got to push through to get these things accomplished. And I feel good about being able to do that. I feel sort of if I can say, I've sort of a macho pride, like it was kind of a heavy week, but with God's help, we got through it. And I feel a tremendous sense of accomplishment that we're able to do it. So I feel satisfaction in that, but I know that after a heavy week, I'm going to have to be able to step back and take care of myself and get extra rest. So, but things now are at peace.
Okay. Do you want to go on with quickly the list of?
Yeah.
Okay. So how can I be sure that he really loves me?
Yes.
And that first one, the way he looks at you.
Yeah. Well, as I was studying this list earlier, there are ways that this is very, very real, but then it's also a way that some scammer might be using that way he looks at you to hook you and draw you in. So some of these things are subjective, and the way he looks at you could be a genuine developing sense of love that he has for you as a lady, but it also could be, I know if I look this way, then I'll be able to hook her and reel her in. So you'll have to be careful about the things that are more subjective. The thing below that, now that is really objective. He wants to give to you. There's a sense that he is generous. He is looking out for you. He wants to find ways to care for you. He wants to find the things that are pleasant for you. He wants to be able to please you. And I think that that is more objective. You can really see that and know that that's actually happening. He treats you like a priority. You can measure that. You know that is actually happening. Of course, the opposite can be true. He treats you like a priority early in the relationship, and then he is a businessman, and he once you establish a relationship, now he's back, and you discover he's really a workaholic, and you only see him at the end of the day when he's extra tired and that sort of thing, and your relationship is now on the back burner. So he treats you like a priority. That's got to stay there. So
yeah, a lot sometimes.
But I say that also is objective. You can measure that.
Yeah.
They
say, well, he's totally different once they got married, or she.
It can be. Well, and it's going to be true. Like I said before, dating is a time when we're performing for our new partner. We want them to see our very best, and we're going to put our best foot forward and that sort of thing. And it's once you've made a decision for engagement or into marriage and that sort of thing, that we begin to relax, and the true person really emerges. And suddenly, now there's if you were going to continue to love this person, there's going to have to be some grace involved to accept that he is not exactly the prince in shining armor anymore. He's got some bad habits, and they're starting to creep out on you. And now you're finding out who he really is. So there's that also.
Is there a way to tell?
Well, I would say the longer the dating relationship, the longer the engagement period and that sort of thing, the more likely that you're going to see who that genuine person is. I was looking at how to tell if there's a scammer and that sort of thing, was a chapter or so further into the book. And the one thing is that they're talking in senses of urgency. There's no time. We have to do this now. Hurry up. Make up your mind, because I've got things to do. They're putting pressure on you
Uh-huh.
hurry the process along rather than slowing it down, taking it easy,
Mhm.
really learning about one another gradually.
That's right. That's right. Okay, the next one is that he wants to immerse himself in your life. I guess that
Yeah,
comes back with that first one we talked about a while ago, that we want to be
right.
with him.
Yeah, and I
Doesn't
think that has a lot to do with will we reveal to one another the things that we hold back from the general knowledge about ourselves. Out in the public, we tend to be this kind of a person and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But are we willing to trust them with the secrets of our life? And even more important, not only will you entrust your secrets with him, but is he willing to do that also with you? I think immersion in life is we begin to learn more about each other. Immersion, it sounds like diving into a deep water, and do we really learn how to dive deeply into one another's life and get to know each other deep down where we've been hurt, where we made mistakes, where we have suffered, where the things of which we once were ashamed and we wanted to keep secret and we didn't want anybody to know. When we find out how worthy this other person is, we begin to trust them enough to be able to reveal a little bit more about ourselves, and then gradually more and more.
Mhm.
I see that as immersion in one another's lives.
Right. And the more, do you think the more you spend together, the more you get to the last part there? He
I
really
Yes,
sees you, doesn't
yeah,
love
I would
what you
think it's inevitable. I think it's inevitable if you give yourself that time. Yeah, eventually you will get to know one another quite deeply, quite well. So,
we go to karaoke in LaGrange on Friday nights.
oh really?
3 of the Friday nights, right.
Huh?
And of course, my voice used to be a high soprano, and now I'm in the basement.
Oh no.
So I'm singing way down here. But one of the song that I really like is "My Way" by Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah.
As you get
Very.
to that particular, he really sees you. That's being able to say the things you think and not the things you think they want to hear.
Right, right. Your honest thought,
Hmm.
what you really want
Right,
to be able to say,
right.
especially if it's going to be a gentle criticism of your partner, you want to be able to say that without hurting their feelings or without being attacked
Yeah,
because
that's very
you
hard.
dared to be honest with them.
So
Yeah.
how do you tell somebody that, hey, I don't, I wish that whatever? How do you tell them
Well,
without hurting their feelings?
ultimately, there's no way around it. You have to be able to find a direct way, but also a gentle way.
Mhm.
There's a scripture that says, I'm terrible at remembering chapter and verse and out of the Bible. I should be better at it, but this is a capacity I don't really have.
Mhm.
But the one line, I think it comes out of Ephesians, is speak the truth in love. Speak the truth in love. So I think there has to be a way to we can speak truth, but if we're really angry at them, we can take that truth and use it as a hammer on them. Don't you
Mhm.
know what an idiot you are? Bang, 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 and really, really hurt we're out not to improve the relationship, but we're out to punish our partner. So if you really want to be able to say something that it's going to be difficult for your partner to hear, find a gentle and supportive and constructive way to tell them, so that it's possible, it's more likely that they'll be able to hear that without becoming defensive or coming back at you. Oh yeah, but how about this time when you did blah blah blah, and attack
Yeah,
you in return.
right.
So it really does take a mature, um, trusting relationship to be able to say, hey, this is what you did. and this is how it hurt me. But I think if you're really trying to reconcile, if you're really trying to achieve forgiveness, your partner needs to know that you have been hurt, and this is how deep of a hurt you felt, and how your partner has been responsible for causing that hurt inside of you. They may be entirely oblivious to that.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have any idea at all that they have been unkind to you until you take courage and say, I'm really hurting now, and it's because this has happened between us. And open it up for a conversation. How can we make sure that this never happens again? But if you don't start the conversation, the healing can never happen. So it takes a risk. It does take a risk, but with a genuine loving relationship, the risk will be rewarded, I do believe.
Also, you have to pick your
I think I understand.
Because some things are more hurtful than others.
Right. Yeah.
So, and some
you
things
pick your battles.
tolerate.
You got to pick your battles. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking while you're talking, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I wish that I never didn't like have a relationship with a man that had a beard. Now, my husband at 65, 70 says, "You think I could let my beard grow?" And so we worked that out. I said, "Sure." Okay, so that was fine. He didn't let it go unruly and all that. He had it once, and it was fine. So then I met Rick, right?
You're right.
And I thought, oh, gee, I wonder, because I figured he could trim it a little bit better than what he was doing.
Okay, all right.
So one day, I don't know, I just kind of just gently spoke to him, and I said, well, he's going to kiss me. And I said, you know what? I says, I can't find your lips.
Oh, no.
Because his mustache was too long.
They're buried down in there someplace, probably, right?
You know that he started trimming that beard and that mustache ever since.
No, all right. Well, apparently he enjoys kissing you enough to be able to make it more pleasant for you. Well done. Well done. Well done, Rick, and well done to you, Shelby. Well done. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I really like. Your happiness is as important to him as his own.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
of course, from a man's perspective, you probably heard this saying many, many, many times: happy wife, happy life.
I have a t-shirt that says, if your mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
Nobody's happy. Nobody's happy. That's true. The mother, the wife and the mother has such to me, now maybe I'm old fashioned, maybe I'm not current with, today's kind of way of looking at things, but I've often felt like the wife and the mother is the kind of the cornerstone or the key to the arch, that holds everything together, family life and children and that sort of thing. And it might be because I was raised in the 50s, and it was a time when, for the most part, mothers were working mothers, but they were stay-at-home mothers and that sort of thing. And so they had the primary connection with the children and that sort of thing. These days, when it takes two incomes and both mother and father are out in the world working, and both of them putting in an 8-hour day, I would say shame on the husband that comes home and expects to sit down, put on, bring me my slippers and my pipe and my beer and what's for dinner, and expects the wife, after having done as much labor time as the husband has done, expecting her to now kick into domestic life and serve his needs. I think there's something entirely wrong with that. So I think the husband really needs to think ahead about how can I help my wife, and how can I be more of a caregiving kind of a husband.
Right.
And the other thing is too, also what is said about getting ready for an evening of romance and sex one phrase that I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard it also: sex begins in the kitchen. It does. Here's what I mean. If I expect that I'm just going to come in and sit down, and my wife's already had a full day, and I want her to put on the supper, I want her to bathe the kids, I want her to start the laundry and that sort of thing, and I'm thinking romantic thoughts for later on, she's going to be so exhausted that's going to be just out of the question. She is just going to be too tired. And your husbands are probably going to hear, "Not tonight, honey, I've got a headache." And so if I'm thinking romantic thoughts, then maybe the thing I need to do is say, "Honey, let me do dinner tonight. I'll take care of and let me get the kids ready for bed," and that sort of thing, and give her a little chance to relax a little bit. And maybe she would be more inclined to be in a romantic mood, because you have been a partner, and the husband has been a partner and faithful and helpful. I think that caring in that regard, have a consideration for one another. Are we sharing the responsibilities of family life and household and that sort of thing? Are we doing our part, or is there a growing resentment? That is a cancer on a relationship. When somebody is resentful about what the balance of power is, resentful about what is demanded of them, resentful about what they're having to go through, and the other partner doesn't seem to know or care, isn't aware. Resentment will become a cancer in a relationship. So if you are feeling truly resentful, I would say that's a time when you really have to find the words to speak out and say, "Listen, I'm going to have a little bit more help here." So
that's very good. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm sure that is a real problem in a lot of marriage relationships. Yeah, where the wife can feel like they are putting in more to the relationship than the man is.
Oh, absolutely. Too easily.
And you bring that up to the man, and he thinks he's putting more in than you for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it might be a time, if you're going to have an honest conversation about it, to kind of put down a kind of a pros and cons, the plus and minus comparison, or my life and your life, and to write down who's taking major responsibility in this area of life, in this area of life, in the care for the church, for the home, and that sort of thing. I would often say, "Hey, if it's an outdoor job, I'm doing it. But you're only mowing the lawn once a day, and only twice in a fall are you raking leaves," and you're thinking, and she's going to have to take care of all the chores indoors. Well, that's laundry every week and supper every day and all of this. I don't think that's coming out 50-50. I don't think that's a fair balance at all. And I think the husband really needs to kind of man up there and say, I've been slacking off, and she's been carrying the heavy end of this, and I should find a way that I can do my part. Offer to do my part. So
I have kind of an axe to grind with the man that I hire to do the lawn, and take care of my yard. And then the woman who cleans my house. There's not equal pay there at all. It takes a man, he's got a writing more. It takes a man once a week to mow the yard.
All right.
And I pay him double X money. Okay, whatever. Right. All right, she comes in, clean my house once a week. Takes her 4.5 hours, to get things sparkle. And she gets less pay per hour than he does.
I see.
And I'm thinking, that really isn't fair.
Well, let me run this by you, Shelby, because when I was in community mental health, I had to purchase equipment for doing yard care, and take work crews out. We did
Mhm.
several different lawns in the wintertime. We snow blowed driveways and sidewalks and that sort of thing. And
Okay.
one thing I did some checking with professional um, yard yard care places and that sort of thing, and asked how did you handle the billing. And the one thing that I learned was that your equipment will last forever, and so you have to plan for every 100 hours that you have that machinery, that you have to be ready. You have to have accumulated enough of the uh, enough money to be able to replace that expensive machinery. And so with the outdoor equipment, there is a bigger investment in the equipment cost than someone who's doing house cleaning. I'm sure they've got tools of the trade also, but when you've got, I think when 2017, I never bought anything brand new, but we came to our home. We had never bought a home before, and we bought a riding mower, and it cost $7,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a brand new riding mower. I've never bought brand new. It's still running. It's still great. This is the 7th year we've had it, I think. Yes, 7th year. And
Mhm.
it's still running well and everything. But if I had gone $7,000, if I had to replace that in 100 hours
Mhm.
of continuous use, I'd have to be. I'm terrible at math. Would it be 70 hours, or would it be 7 hours? For every 7 hours, I'd have to charge $10 to replace that machine eventually.
So you would have that then to
Yeah,
your,
you have to add in that as well as your hourly wage,
well,
your hourly rate.
some women, they provide their own vacuum cleaner. Of course, their vacuum cleaner
That's
doesn't cost $7,000, but
right,
I just
right.
know I
I
clean my
feel
daughter's house and I'm exhausted when I get done.
well, it's hard work. It really is a physical effort in
Yeah.
comparison to someone who's on a riding mower and just going back and forth and
Mhm.
back and forth.
Right.
The machine's doing all the work. But I know that also is a tiring day. It takes all day to mow my lawn. And I know
Oh,
by the end of
really?
the day, I'm really worn out. And
Uh-huh.
the machine's doing all the work, but I've got to ride on it and that sort of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And or even we have a very deep ditch and I want to mow that ditch down, I have to do that with a
Yeah.
hand mower,
Yeah.
and that's an awful lot
We
of
have
effort
to take
going
all
into
of those
yeah.
into effect. Mine is just a straight flat yard, but anyway, we got off topic a little bit.
Well, yes, but
Oh, and
very,
we're
very
running out of
productive, I
time.
guess.
We are running out of time. Thank you,
All
Beth,
right.
for reminding us. But I want to thank the audience for staying and listening to Carl and me talk about love and lawn mowing and
And lawn mowing.
a little bit of everything here.
And one thing I can say for sure is I love lawn mowing.
Well, that's good. And I want to tell you that next week I will be having a person he's an investigative business, and everything investigative is what his business is called. So I'm very interested in talking to him about that and
Oh,
about
good.
he said, my favorite topic, my favorite scam. I
Well,
like love better. We'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for coming
thanks,
today
Shelby.
and
Nice to be
listening.
together. Thank you.